We're going to have a really, really good time doing it. And we're going to get to taste the great wines of the world because, how do you sell a Ferrari if you've never driven one?
Welcome to the Wine Centric Show. Here we are inside of Disney Springs Resort and Shopping Extravaganza. And today, as always, I have a titan for you. This man is a titan of Disney World, of Walt Disney World. He created Wine Bar George, and that is his name. He is a Master Sommelier, Mr. George Miliotes.
Well, Matt, I've never been called a titan before, so it's a good day today.
I dub thee.
Awesome.
George, let's just jump right in. How did this happen with Disney? I know you ran the California Grill, you started, but
correct.
Do they tap you to to start a wine bar in Disney Springs, or how does that work?
So, yes, they asked me. I'd worked for Disney for 8 years during the 90s to early 2000s, and I think I did pretty good work at California Grill.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And then, went and had my life for 15 years at Darden, opening up, 75 restaurants in 15 years for them. And then Disney called me back and said, hey, we got one last spot here at Disney Springs that hasn't been developed. Would you like to take this piece of dirt and turn it into a wine bar? And so there is a connection that I did good work at Disney, but you got to do good work and you have to be able to play well with the group also. And so when the time came here for a wine bar, they thought of me.
It's pretty impressive because it's also a unique position you're in. Darden, for those of you who don't know, Darden is probably the largest restaurant holder corporation in the world.
I would think so.
I would think so. Yeah. And you said in your time there, which was 15 years, you opened 75 restaurants. I mean, we're talking Olive Garden. What are the other?
So the restaurants I opened, while they own Olive Garden and they own Longhorn, the restaurants I opened and helped out at were Capital Grille, Seasons 52, and Eddie V's.
Okay.
Although I will tell you that I was tasked at one point with reworking the flavor profile for Olive Garden's entry-level white, red, and rosé. And I'll tell you, there's a whole different set of angst when you're putting your name on something that's the lower end,
right,
the budget end, and is large volumes. 100
because
cases.
You're putting the Olive Garden label on those.
Absolutely.
Those are the house red, white, and rosé.
Correct. Right. And so when, that's a lot of cases of wine, that if you make a mistake, it's not like that can just simply flush through distribution like 100 cases could, because it wasn't for 100 cases.
Okay, so I love this. So you get to go. We're going to get, obviously, your Master Sommelier, so you're validated right off the bat. I don't even have to go into your history, which we'll get there. But so you go with Olive Garden and you go to a specific winery, a company, is that Gallo?
They work with Cabot in Italy.
Okay.
So we're in northern Italy. And it's funny because at the winery, it was as much maybe I know what marketing is thinking and wants, and I know what language to put it into the winemaker.
Right.
Because sometimes, correct, there is a translation that, hey, we still want them to appeal to the average palate, but we also want to make sure that they're still lively wines. Because sometimes, the easiest route is let's put sugar in it and make it taste good. And that's great, but the appropriate level of sugar with the appropriate acid balance makes for something that's alive and delicious and that people want to order a second glass of. And that was the whole idea with that process. And marketing knew what they wanted, because they still wanted it to taste good to the average guest. But they also knew they wanted to sell more wine. And saying that to the winemaker was a fairly fun and easy project once they knew what the goal was.
So Olive Garden comes to you and says, we need to change our wines our main wines. We need to make them.
We want to make them better.
We want to make them better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to so you're translating in your head what better means. Because you could have also gone the other way. Better, the masses like you said, want sugar, but you translated and say, no, we needed more zippy, we needed more balance. Yeah. That's so cool. And then so you get to go to the winemaker, and then are you in tasting trials and blending trials?
Oh, yeah.
Do you even get to like decide which vineyards go into which? You get that.
They bring, as I remember, they brought probably 10, 15 different samples of red was the first thing that we did of red, and we tasted through the 15 samples. You got to listen to what the winemaker says, because there is one wine that you got to choose that's going to be the base for it, but you got to make sure you have the appropriate volumes. And so we tasted through those, and then we started blending and adjusting and got to where we needed to go, where everybody was happy. Because it's funny, I don't want to task the winemaker either with, hey, I got to have this amount of acid and this amount of sugar. And I don't care what you think as a winemaker. That's what I want. I want him to be proud of the wine too, because when he's proud of the wine, it's going to be a better wine also. And so, yeah, that's the process. But yes, we got to pick between the 15-ish samples, which one was going to be the base. And then went from there, and then did it with white and rosé also.
Give me 30% more of the profile 7, and yeah. And
Absolutely.
how long do you do that every vintage then?
No. The winemaker at that point knows the profile that they want. And so we did this one vintage, and we would taste like if they're going to change to the next vintage, or if they feel there needs to be a radical change. Not radical, but there's going to be a significant change. They'll send samples back and forth.
Gotcha.
In that situation.
And so just to give us an idea, like what type of volume is that? Like how much in back in those days, this was what, like the early 2000s?
This would have been, no, it's been more like mid 10, like 2008.
Okay. So
somewhere
you're
between
already
8
a
and 12.
master at that point.
Yes.
Okay. Can you give us an idea of what the volumes on like?
I don't remember the exact, but I think, like there had to be around 100,000 cases of wine going on there.
That's incredible.
I think between the three. Yeah. It's fun, but there's a whole different type of angst.
Yeah.
Around high volumes. And all right, so take a step back.
Yeah.
If I have all the resources in the world and crop a single vineyard to 2 tons, and the single vineyard is 5 acres, I got one thing to focus on there. If I'm trying to make a wine that's delicious to a wide range of people at a price that is affordable and allows the restaurant to make money and the guest to still buy the wine, which one is more difficult? I don't think one is more difficult. They're both difficult. It's just that one we never think of being as difficult because it's not expensive. But making good tasting, inexpensive wine, I think it's not easy.
It's not easy. No. And I just think that's the confluence of being a master sommelier, and then you think about, now I have to make wine for 100,000 cases for the Olive Garden is such a different skill set.
It is.
But you actually are uniquely prepared to do that because, as the story or the legend goes, you started stocking wines in your father's delicatessen.
I did. That is the legend and the fact. When I was, I don't know, somewhere around 11 or 12 years old, those child labor laws in Florida were different in the 70s. My dad would take me in, and I'd wash beer glasses and clean plates behind we had a long butcher block bar where we served sandwiches and beer and wine. Then at the end of the shift, I'd go back to, we had a wall of wines, probably about as big as this wall here. And this is a Germanic style deli. German wines were the first things I learned a lot of. But remember, this was the mid 70s in Orlando. We were one of maybe 2 or 3 places that sold top end Bordeaux, and like Napa Valley was just starting to catch fire. So I can remember, selling 74 Mondavi Reserve and 74 Sterling Reserve, wines that, back in the 70s, those were the icons of Napa Valley. Now things have moved way on from Napa. Sterling was family owned.
Sure.
And Suha Newton, who owned it then with her husband, she was very upfront with us. She was like, if Robert Mondavi hadn't come by once a week during during the making of the wine, I don't know what we would have made.
Okay.
Which is all very cool because, we think about Napa as this big place now. But back then it was a small place and everybody was tied in. I'm not saying everybody doesn't still help each other because I know they do. But I think it was a little bit different world.
It was a rising tides mentality.
Correct.
But also, what a vintage to start with. The 74 was
classic.
Classic.
You know it.
Yeah. I have some 74 Clos de Val in my cellar, actually. And
one of the great wines of Napa Valley.
that's right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Not all the wines have stayed good, but the ones that have
are really, really good wines.
Really good wines. Was your father the chef as well?
So my dad wasn't a chef, and at the deli, like we served sandwiches and then higher end food products. We were one of the first, we think today anybody walks into a grocery store, there's Brie, there's Real Swiss, there's Havarti, there's Delice, there's all kinds of these selections of cheese. Right. In the 70s in Orlando, or really in just about every city in the United States, your average grocery store did not have those things.
Cheddar, Swiss, American cheese. That was pretty much it.
That was it.
Yeah.
But we brought in Real Swiss cheese that we used, Havarti, Samso, all kinds of, we had 100 different cheeses you could choose from. And so, that was my base in food. And my family is ethnically Greek. And so food and the mealtime has always been something that's very important to us. And so my dad made a very easy transition from the corporate world to being this, this entrepreneur in the 70s doing fine wine and gourmet foods. And he'd pride himself on if, somebody of European descent or who moved here came and said, hey, I want to try to find this product. He'd go and try to find the product.
Yeah.
And so that was my base and what was done. And, it's funny, in the 70s, when I was learning what a German wine label was, and I was 16 years old and I could explain the ins and outs of what happened in 1971 with the kind of forming of German wine labels. There's never any angst about it. I learned it when I was 16.
Right.
And, when you try to learn something when you're 30 and you got to remember it, that's one thing. But when you learn it as a natural thing, it's like, oh, that's awesome. And I knew that when I was 16. And so it never goes away. And while it's gotten more complicated with time, and, everything morphs, my basis is as strong a basic. And there was a German guy who'd sell my dad German wines who'd come in from Germany 3 times a year. And he's the one who taught me how to decipher the label. And my dad didn't know I was going to be a master sommelier. He didn't even know what a master sommelier was in the 70s.
Yeah.
But was the start of my training.
Yeah, and just even how you're talking about cheese, and the fine
it's a big point. It's part of it.
Yeah,
right.
No wonder, you were unique. You were in a unique position to become somebody who is a titan of taste. Bring it back.
It's all good.
Yeah. Speaking of which, George, I'm just going to pause for 1 second because I got to pay the bills. There is a woman that also helps us. Her name is Lauren McLaughlin, and she does a business called Conscious Strong, which combines wellness and wine. As she does these curated trips where, she uses movement, but then also great food and great wine, where I'm sure within Germany or Greece, you can help her on the next retreat.
Yeah, you let me know.
I will. We're not just drinking some, we could talk all day about your father's deli and how it was back in the 70s and how it set you up, but tell us what's in our glass.
So we're drinking, if you want the nutshell is we've got some, as non-interventionist produced Chenin Blanc from the Loire in France as there is. Now this is Nicolas Joly, Lavaux Clos, the old vineyard. And so 100% Chenin Blanc, but as you know, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners know, the very first really winery to get serious about biodynamics and to lead the pack with this. And I love opening it right before we started because this wine will change just in the hour that we're going to talk,
Yeah.
but we could leave the 3 glasses in here for a day or two and come back, and it would still be complete and changed, but still a wine that's delicious. And I love to tell this story. Last year, I did a blind tasting where we used one of the Jolie wines, and I emailed the Jolies, and the daughter emailed me back that we would like you to. The tasting was on a Sunday at. We started at 1:00. She was like, "We'd like you to open the wines and decant the wines on Saturday night at 9 p.m. Leave them in the decanters until 1 p.m. Before you serve them for the tasting." Now, it was a tasting for 100 people, so I didn't have the wherewithal to do it at 9 at night, but I came in that next morning, opened all the bottles, decanted all the bottles, then rough decanted each one of the bottles to get the oxygen on them. So it's a very interesting, to me, wine in that the wine is alive. And when we think about white wines not oxidizing immediately and going flat, this is one wine where you can decant it or not decant it, but it's always going to change. And I think just become more and more and more delicious as it gets more oxygen.
What's interesting about that is because you poured this on a Coravin.
Yep.
And it is absolutely, for me, it's singing out
Yes.
the glass. And, Chenin Blanc can be a little bit muted aromatically at first, but this is like,
but there's nothing.
Here I am.
Yeah. And it's going to continue to be, it's going to continue to show how beautiful it is. So, yeah. And I wanted to pour for talking. This is a fun wine to pour because you don't see it all that often.
No.
And, I'm not trying to segue into anything, but the Coravin is as major a part of the success of the restaurant and our wine program as any other part, because you can come into the restaurant and you can buy any wine in any amount you want. And for our higher end product that maybe we don't move a bottle a day of, that's using the Coravin.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect segue, actually. I do want to hear more about the Jolie family, but let's talk about, because we're at Wine Bar George, the wine bar named after you, your creation, and you have been named best wine bar wine list in the world by a couple of publications.
It's by the World of Fine Wine.
By the World of Fine Wines, and that is one of the things. You call yourself an egalitarian sommelier. So talk to us about that, about how you set up the program. What was the vision for it?
So the idea, and there's 2 levels of this egalitarian thing that I want to make sure that I touch on. First is that all the great wines are, I don't want to say hoarded, but all the great wines go to great restaurants, and most of the great restaurants like selling them by the bottle. And that puts a cap of entry for a lot of people who aren't going to buy $1,000 bottle of white wine or a $500 bottle of white wine that they've never tasted before, or they've never heard of before. And so our first thought was, we were familiar with the technology of the Coravin. Well, why can't we do everything on the wine list? That goes from Moscato at $8 a glass to Lafite or Latour or Margaux at, $500 a glass. Why can't we serve them all by the ounce? And the guest tells us how much we want. And if it is served out of the Coravin, myself or one of 5 or 6 other sommeliers comes, brings the bottle to the table, and explains the wine to you.
Right.
And when I say 5 or 6 somms, we also have some servers and some bartenders who we allow to serve, to use the Coravin also, who've been with us the whole time and know about all the products that they're serving. And so we wanted to be able to open up the wine world to people who love wine, but wouldn't necessarily think that spending $2,000 or $1,000 or $500 or even $250 on a bottle of wine is what they do every day, but they still want to be able to try these wines and experience what's going on.
Yeah. And so is it 190 selections.
We have around 220 selections.
220 now. Okay.
Yes, I hope my wife doesn't listen to the podcast. How do we get to 220? But it's around there.
Is she responsible for the books? Because
she does.
Partner in this.
She is my partner in this, and I want to make the point. A lot of times people think, oh, the person who does the finances is in the back, or like my wife and I are on equal footing as to how this restaurant is run. And so we look at everything. I do love telling a story when the first batch of First Growth Bordeaux came in a week after we opened. And I hadn't made her aware that it was going to be a $15,000 invoice. I was like, oh my God, she's going to kill me. But it all worked out. She was ready for it and made sure we had money everywhere to do what we needed to do.
Was that a situation where you thought, instead of asking for permission, I'm just going to ask for forgiveness?
So it is not. Okay. We've been working with Chateau Margaux to get specific wines in, but they have a Master Sommelier, an American Master Sommelier who runs part of their distribution program. So we mindfully picked about three or four different vintages at that point, but that was done 6-8 months out because they had to get to the courtier in France and then the importer and then get to us and all that kind of stuff. And so in between striking the deal and making Leanne aware that, they've arrived, kind of, not that we weren't opening up a restaurant, that, the restaurant took up a lot of time and a lot of effort. So it kind of snuck up on me. Nobody is perfect. Whether I'm a Titan or not.
Yeah, nobody's perfect. That's right. You're human. What? I struggle with the Coravin, to be honest with you. And obviously, it seems like you're a fervent supporter of it. So do you ever find struggles? Do you ever find inconsistencies? Not that, I don't know if you have any ties to Coravin or anything like that.
I'm a liar. We are the largest buyer of argon capsules from Coravin in the world.
Okay.
So we are intimately involved with them, and we love their piece of equipment. But like anything, you have to use it properly. And again, nothing is ever perfect. From time to time, if we have a bottle where, we've served 20 of the ounces out of the bottle, but we've served those 20 ounces 1 ounce at a time, and we pierce the bottle 20 odd times. Maybe it does make too big a hole and the last 4 ounces oxidizes. When that happens, we have to throw it out, and that's just the way it is. That happens a minimal amount or number of times.
Yeah.
And so, I'm a businessman first and foremost. If it didn't work,
you would get it out.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it does work.
Okay.
And as time has gone on, in the beginning, we served a lot of just single ounces of wine. And now, we still serve a lot of single ounces, but we also do, 2 ounce pours and full glasses, or maybe somebody gets 2 glasses. So it's not always trying to serve a bottle of high-end wine 1 ounce at a time. That helps with the situation as we become more used to it. But we train everybody how to use it that's allowed to use it. And it works.
How often do you do quality control as, let's say you were opening this bottle of Le Vieux Clos side by side? Open regular cork and open with a cork.
So this is how I would say we watch how it goes. Guests are never afraid to give feedback first and foremost. Okay. And if they don't think the bottle's right, we will, of course, taste and have a discussion with the guest. Because sometimes, and there's always balance, sometimes the guest will ask, is this right? And we'll taste it, and we can say, yes, it's right. No, you are correct. The other day, I opened up a very famous bottle of wine. One bottle, the table poured and drank it. The second bottle that was opened was not good. No, it was not equal to the first bottle. So we went to a third bottle, and the third bottle was equal to the first bottle. The second bottle is going back to the distributor, has gone back to the distributor, but the wine was not right. We do a couple things. When we pour ounces, I will smell the the vessel that we use as a measurer, and I'll know if the wine is. That's my job.
Okay.
And Zach and Juan and Sean and Zacharias, they all know, and Freya all know what is up with if the wine is right or not. But are we at the point now where we're doing comparisons all that often? No, because we know the product works. Now, earlier on, the first years that we're doing it, first year that we did it, yeah, that was fraught with tension, and we'd taste and be sure. Now, I'm confident of what we're serving.
What made you decide to go with Coravin then, instead of saying, like, in the beginning, obviously we say it's more cost effective to use Coravin, probably, but then you think about the cost of the capsules back to being business versus putting in enomatic machines all over.
So here's the thing with the enomatic machines. I got nothing against them.
Because they're using the same technology, right? Like,
so it's
inert
yes,
argon gas.
Correct.
Yeah.
I wanted an emphasis put on a interaction between two human beings. Could I have taken an easier route and filled the 2 floors or part of the floors up with enomatic machines? I could, and made you, put your credit card in but that makes for less of an experience.
Yeah.
Whereas me coming to the table with the Coravin and pouring your wine, which I'm here anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week, sometimes 6 or 7 days a week. You get a knowledgeable person who comes and talks to you about the wine. With the enomatic machine, 200 enomatic machines or 100 enomatic machines, I don't know if I'd much rather be, and I don't want to say I don't care about the cost, because I do care greatly about every cost. I run a business,
Right.
as I said, but I'm much more excited about taking the wines to the table and showing the guest that I am about them going up to a machine and getting product out of a machine.
Yeah.
And like, if
it's a great distinction.
Even if we just had the machines behind a bar and you ordered it, but then do you see me bringing the bottle to it? You can't bring the bottle to the table. It's coming out of a tap in a remote location, so the guest doesn't see the bottle.
Yeah.
And hear me out on this part of the thing. Like, this wine in particular is about as obscure as it gets. So it's hard to even find it on a wine list.
Right.
But if you are interested in biodynamics and natural winemaking and all that low interventionist and stuff, this is one of the touch points. So if you come in and you order it, I want you to see the bottle. And as importantly, I'm a sampling program for them where you don't go into any wine shop where they're pouring this wine for you to taste. We got 3 bottles of it for the whole year.
Right.
But you can come in, and if you're like, oh, that's one of the original people who is the non-interventionist doing everything on site, yeah, you can have an ounce or 2 ounces or 3 ounces and try it where there's no other place in the world
That you could do that.
or even probably going to the winery
Right.
is your only option to do that. And so that's one of the things that for the finer, harder to get wines, or those that are ultimately tiny productions, we give them an avenue to make sure that people can try their wines.
Okay, so let's talk about, I love that distinction because I think you're right. The face-to-face is what you're here for. And want to get into, so to work here as a sommelier, you have to be a minimum certified level through the court?
All right. So this is an interesting premise. What I really want is somebody who's intelligent and passionate and wants to do this.
Right.
Because it is hard work. Like, I have a tiny place where we receive probably 100 cases of alcohol twice a week.
Yeah.
That a som has to put that up. A professional puts that up. It's not like received by a receiver and then no, we do this. And so I got to have people who want to work in the business. If you're an entry-level sommelier, but you have extra knowledge and you just haven't sat for the certified, we're going to put you on a fast pass path to get to the certified.
Sure.
And then let's be honest, to pass advanced, you got to have as strong an arm as if you're going to sit for the masters. That's the level that there is. So I can't look at the pool of somms worldwide and say I got to have people who are advanced somms on my floor. But yeah, certified is or ready to take the certified is the minimum kind of level that we would look at. But I stress every single day here is ongoing education for that person. And I'll take Bryce as one of my bartenders who we do allow to use, Bryce and Paul, we allow to use the Coravin. They both came to us with outstanding spirit knowledge and outstanding beer knowledge and maybe growing wine knowledge. After 7.5 years, you could have an experience with them and not with me. And you'd be like, wow, this is a pretty cool place. They got wine knowledgeable people here.
Right.
And so I always want to take the long view of how we hire and how we train people. And you can't expect anybody, the expectation that there's some 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year program that's going to make somebody wine knowledgeable is just not true.
Yeah. It's experience, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It has to be a calling.
Yeah.
And so we want those people who feel it's calling. We're going to help them with becoming whatever level of sommelier that they want to become. And we're going to have a really, really good time doing it. And we're going to get to taste the great wines of the world because, how do you sell a Ferrari if you've never driven one? How do you sell a wine if you haven't tasted it? We focus very much on some of the hardest to get wines, but a huge portion of the good work that I feel we do every day is if you know nothing about wine, but you want to come in and start, you can come in and have an ounce or two of what we call entry-level wines that we have the equal amount of passion of finding really top quality, well-made wines.
Yeah.
So if you want to know what lightly sweet German Riesling should taste like, we have Selbach Oudster Qualitätswein Blue Label made by a guy. And I know you know Johannes.
Yes.
Their family's been making wine in the Mosel since the year 1600. They are as high-end a winemaker as there is, because they make some of the greatest German wines that are really, really expensive, but they also have an arm that makes entry-level wines that are delicious and still site-specific and are what they should be. And the best work that we do is not preaching to the choir who's already ready to drink good wines. It's finding ways to get people into the wine business and the life of wine and food together. And that's like when we think about our business growing right now, that is by far and away the most important thing. And don't kid yourself. It can start with frozen wine drinks, which we sell Froscato. We've sold Friesling, right? Frogelet, whatever you want to,
It's have the gateway.
Correct. And, oftentimes we forget that drinker because we feel that it's only about spending a lot of money and having the finest. But there's a whole range here, and every part of that range has to be served if we want to have an ongoing business that spans, more than one generation. And so this is very important to us.
So I'm curious about that because here we are at Disney, right? And maybe and you look at I don't know if they ever ask your opinion for like the selections inside the park, because I had this impression that, that Disney had really made a culinary turn, a stylistic shift towards upping the culinary. But having my experience in the park these last couple of days, I'm sorry to talk to your bosses like that, I wasn't blown away by the culinary options. And certainly even at the wine choices, there was like sangria or like a wine cooler type of things.
Here's what I do know. there are places on property apart from me where you can get a really good culinary and wine experience, whether it be the Flying Fish or Citricos or Kappa. They're all restaurants that have a strong culinary tradition and a strong wine.
Inside the parks?
No, those are more at the hotels that are around the parks. And I have more than enough to do here on a daily basis than help out with this. And I do think, at some point it has to be about servicing best the guest who is in the park. And I don't have enough data on that.
Yeah.
But there are places on property where you can get a pretty good wine and food experience.
Okay. No doubt. And I think there's that. But I guess then it goes back to the question of thinking, okay, I've just gone through the park, right? Maybe I have my kids, or maybe I'm just with my wife or my partner or whatever, spouse. And then, maybe let's say, for example, I'm a beer drinker and my partner is a wine drinker. So they're like, Wine Bar George, well, that's for you. But then I think what you're getting at, and I'm talking myself into this, is you're going to have something for them because they might be here and say okay, I'll try the Friesling. And then,
we're full, we serve beer and we serve drinks.
Yeah.
And all right, it's my child, so it's beautiful, right? Yeah, everybody's child is the most beautiful thing that there is. I look at my restaurant and I'm so proud of our spirit program. I'm so proud of our wine program. I'm so proud of our small but very, very worked beer program. And Chef Ron and I worked together at California Grill back in the 90s.
Okay.
Our food program, while I don't torture any of our food, or we don't, or Chef Will doesn't.
But an interesting choice of words.
So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going to the place where you get 20 courses over 3 hours and each course is 1 ounce. And that's all cool. And that's like art. There's different levels of art. And I'm all down with the high level of art. But I'm also, when I'm showing the world's greatest wines, I don't want to say I want simple food, but I want food that's well prepared, appropriately seasoned, and delicious to go with the wine that's served at the right temperature in the right glass. That's delicious too. Yeah. And that's my focus. And, we have 12 small plates. We have a cheese board, a charcuterie board, and then a big board that's cheese and charcuterie together. And then, we got 3 entrees and 2 family style entrees. So I got 25, 30 items on the menu. And so it's tight. And it's focused. And if you want oysters, there's another place that serves oysters here on property.
Yeah.
I don't have the room to do it because I'm a small restaurant. And so I focus on what I can do right. And that's delicious and relatively simple and good. I'm in no way slagging off the guy who, has 30 different ingredients on the dish and it's 2 ounces and it's that. Yes. And hey, there's a time and there's a place. My place is not the time and the place for that. But you want to have a really cool experience that covers food, can cover mixed drinks, and can cover wine. Hey, I say bring it on. I'll go up against any restaurant in the world on those things.
I love it. No, it makes sense. Your take on the hospitality and the fact that the wine is kind of the start of the show here, and the food needs to support the wine.
Correct.
So that's simple and understandable. I want to play a little game.
Sure. Let's play a game. I like games.
So we're inside Disney, of course. And I assume you've been on most of the rides in the park.
I've been on a lot of the rides in the park, yes.
Okay. So I want you to build me a flight as if I'm coming to Wine Bar George, right? And I just ridden through, we'll make it
you just did the Tower of Terror?
Tower of Terror, exactly. I did Guardians of the Galaxy, Mount Everest, the Rock and Roller Coaster, which, by the way,
it's pretty rocking.
That's pretty rocking, man. I had to close my eyes. Well, you could pick 3 or 4, and maybe include my personal favorite, the Avatar Flight of Passage. Have you done that one?
I have.
Okay. So yeah, build me what's the right wine pairing or flight level? You can either do it a pairing or a flight as to build my emotions as to just doing those. You get the game?
Yes. So Tower of Terror, because it goes up and down and all around. I think we start here for the Tower of Terror because it changes all the time. The other thing about Tower of Terror I love is it's never the same. Like the ride itself.
Oh, it's never the same.
It's not. No,
I don't think I'm going back.
They have it tweaked to where like one time it'll go straight up and then halfway down, then back up, then all the way down, then back up, and then the next time you're on it, it will go part of the way down, back up, part of the way down, back up, and so it's always a different ride set. And I think with Jolie's wines in particular, they're always going to give you this very unique ride, vintage to vintage, wine to wine.
Okay. I'm marking that down.
I think with Avatar, because it's about flying, I'm going to stay in white wine world and strangely in France, but we're going to go further east to Trimbach and Clos Saint-Hune, which, the greatest Riesling, or one of the greatest Rieslings in the world.
What's the current vintage on the?
I think we're on 19 right now, which is the 100th vintage from them or 50th vintage that they made. It's on the. I'm looking at the label right now, but I can't see what it says. Can I get up and go look?
Go do it.
That's the fun of doing this way.
That's right.
So 2019 is the 100th anniversary of Clos Saint-Hune. And I love that they hold the product until they feel it's ready. I also love that it comes in a 3-pack case.
Yeah.
And at first I thought it was just Google Translator being wonky, because on their piece of literature about it, it says confidential. The wine production is confidential.
Okay.
And then I really started thinking about it. And whether it was just an oddity of Google Translate, they're people who love Riesling and love it for their whole life and have never heard or seen that wine, Clos Saint-Hune.
Yeah.
And so there is this thing about you either know about it or you don't, which is kind of the definition of the wine being confidential. And guess what? I'm here to make it unconfidential. Because it is one of the great wines of the world, and it soars at every level.
Oh, you're good at this.
To me.
And you have the Clos, so it's like you're in the world.
Yes, you're on this one world that it does focus around that one world. No doubt.
Okay.
All right, where else do we got?
So, Guardians of the Galaxy.
What wine am I getting shot at?
It could be the post ride, right? What do I need to calm down from this?
I'm going to go with that. I'm going to shout out to one of my my favorites of, and it kind of, how can I put it? So, expensive wine is this thing where we all look at what's going on, and some people think $80 is expensive. Some people think $4,000 is expensive.
Yeah.
But it is, when you drink it, about flavor and does it taste good or not. And so there is this back and forth jerkiness between what is really a great wine or not a great wine, and how does expense focus in on that. El Puntito is a winery from Rioja, Grand Reserva level, made by the Gorin family. On my list, it's $160 a bottle.
Okay.
And here's my premise.
Mm-hmm.
It's different than Chateau Latour at $2,000 a bottle, but one is not better than the other. They're both delicious wines.
Yeah.
And on another level, we talked about Johannes and his entry level. When it's 90 degrees out and I'm sitting with a cheese and charcuterie board out on the patio, I'm sorry, I'm as happy drinking Blue Label Qualitätswein Riesling as I am drinking something that would be 10 or 100 times the price.
Yeah.
And so there is this, I don't know, herky-jerkiness about where happiness and satisfaction all meet with wine.
Yeah.
And some people, it is about the expense that, hey, all I want is my guests to be happy. And if part of the happiness is spending that money on a great wine, which I am that way too.
Yeah.
I was in France in June for a wedding, and we went out to a great restaurant and we popped for an expensive bottle of wine that, hey, it was everything we would have desired in that wine. But then there are other times, like I said, that, or, my best laugh is people ask me after we have the, sometimes I'll put the Selbach entry level Qualitätswein in a blind tasting. They're like, well, what do I drink this with? And like, my youngest loves Chipotle. So the cross-culturalness, again, the herky-jerkiness of no rice, no beans, but carnitas, avocado, cheese, lettuce, sour cream, and then the corn salsa, and then the red sauce, and like a good helping of red sauce, mix that up. And you can't tell me that with really good, lightly sweet German Riesling isn't one of the best cross-cultural things ever in the world. And you can do it you can do it every day if you want it.
Yeah, that's right. I love it. It's Germican.
Mm-hmm. And what's wrong with Germican? I like it. I like it too.
And I love the fact because, as you know, red wine is red sauce is very hard to pair with white wine. But you're right. That sounds like an unbelievable pairing.
Yes. Amazing. And so there's just so much fun stuff in the world of wine and food together. But go ahead. Is there one more?
Well, there is one more, but I just wanted to say how, you're so correct because, and this is so just Disney appropriate, but you're standing on the rides, right? And some people might be, it's all personal to you of what's scary to you and what's not. For example, Guardians of the Galaxy, we were on there and we were talking to this 5-year-old and he's like, I'm not scared. This is no problem. This is an easy ride. Doesn't go fast at all. Meanwhile, my wife is like, 3 sheets to the wind, like wobbling after we get off of it. So it's just like wine though. It's like a don't yuck my yum. I like this. You don't like this. I like to spend this much of money. This for me is value. This is not. So, yeah.
And this part of this relates back to looking somebody in the eye and having an interaction with them as to where the point meets of having this great time with what to them is a great wine, and everybody is different. And if it was up to an animatic machine, nothing against animatic machines, but it can't be a machine thing. It's got to be you and me looking at each other and talking about it. And like, we're not afraid to point to prices on the menu. And is this in the envelope of the price that you want? Because it's not. We get equally excited about somebody ordering, or saying, I love Cru Beaujolais. Well, Cru Beaujolais is almost never over $100, or if it is, it's the top end.
Foyard and what's his name? We're getting pretty pricey.
Are starting to get pricey now, but I have Chenrion on the list. That's like, I don't know, $65-$70 a bottle on the list, and it's as delicious as anything else that's on the list. And no, you didn't come in and say, I only drink top end of Napa Valley Cabernet, or I only drink classified Bordeaux, which we get excited about those people too. But there is this fun of, you say you like Cru Beaujolais. Well, I know I'm going to have to work for my dollar, but I'm going to make sure I find you something really cool that you're happy about.
Yeah. You still have such a love for this wine. Like, as a business person, I've seen wine on the biggest end of this spectrum in terms of selling for, working Darden restaurants and stuff, and then bringing it back here. I'd be remiss, since you're still very active in the court.
Yeah.
And the way we connected was through former guest Max Cass.
Yeah.
Who's also a Master Sommelier. So you passed Matt, you became a master in 2007. What's your relationship with the court today? Obviously, I would think it's pretty strong. And what are your thoughts? Just like everything that's going on and sure it's going.
So 2007. seems like a long time ago.
Well, is it different? I mean, is it different?
Was.
Like what, for example, now there are, is it 270?
71 or 3, one of the two. I don't know.
Let's just say
Yeah,
273 master
yes.
sommeliers in the world. Back then it was
150, I think.
okay.
So I'm still wrapped tight with the Court of Master Sommeliers. I teach intro classes. I teach certified classes, or I administer certified classes. And I love the fact that I'm a Master Sommelier, you know, apart from finding the right human being to marry and having the 3 kids. It is one of the penultimate things of my life. And an integral part. With everything, there are peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And there is the ability to do better on a daily basis. And it's funny, I was reading something about Danny Meyer talking about how he takes his wins every day, but he knows even on the days that he wins, there are probably 3 other things they could have done better.
Yeah.
And so at the court, we have to continue to evolve and we have to do better. Yes, we had some heartache, and I think we're on the right path to making sure that heartache never happens again, and being a more open group while still being as difficult a group to become part of is important, because we all had to pass at a level to become a Master Sommelier. And so the rigor that's around tasting, theory, and service has to remain at the highest level.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, we do have to have a more wider view of the world and what a Master Sommelier is. And so there have been, I think, you know, we've had to work at that.
Yeah, I don't think, I'm sorry, just to push
go ahead.
that for a little bit.
Go ahead.
But I don't think that was the issue of like it doesn't seem to me like it was much more like it seemed misogynistic. It seemed very, and you know, I went through the course as a fan, or at least the certified level, but it seemed misogynistic, not racist, and that it was really difficult for females, and it was, I think, the problem. Did you find, I guess a better way, did you find yourself pulling back when all this stuff was kind of illuminated, or did you know about this stuff? And like, how personally
for me,
was it a surprise to you?
At the level that went on, yes, this is a surprise to me. And I would simply say, like, I have my own personal set of morals and guidelines that I go by.
Yeah.
And we can go downstairs and look at the people we're mentoring, whether it's at the beginning of their time in the court, all the way to people who are sitting for their masters. And I have every orientation and I have every color of human being who we've worked with and continue to work with. And so I will say, you brought up the term misogynist. There are a lot of misogynists in a lot of different professions that if we choose to take a microscope and look at, and so, yes, there were individuals who rightfully so needed to either be removed or be held accountable for what they did. Absolutely no doubt as to this. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty. I think, yes.
We don't have to
shocked is absolutely the word.
Yeah.
And like,
disappointed
is equally strong a word as could be. And in another way, for some human beings let down, in that, you know, when you're in the mentor or teacher relationship, you do have some modicum of power over the situation that should not be abused.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for going down that road.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get back to business for a moment.
Sure.
And I know, as you might hear, there's sounds of this restaurant starting to percolate.
There is a restaurant that we're operating. You know it.
We'll just take a few more minutes.
Yeah, we're good.
So as a single business owner, small business, well, it's not a single business anymore. You opened up a outpost at the airport, which is pretty cool. I got to imagine, I mean, you're youthful. To me, you seem full of energy and passion. But how does one who's worked at that level of the Darden, the Capitol Grills, and the Seasons 52 of the world kind of then think about this restaurant, where it's going, and now other opportunities and scaling that, especially with the the interpersonal interactions that you want to create?
So, I've done the thing where there are 100 restaurants that I got to go see in a year, or 75, or even 50, or even 25 restaurants to see in a year. If you take the 25 restaurants and you divide them by 365 days in a relatively normal life, it's a deep breath trying to run multiple locations.
For sure.
So I love this one location. The location in the airport is a licensing situation where, because it's in an airport, you have to have an operator for you and that type of thing. So I don't want to say it doesn't take any time, because it does take time to make sure it's done right. But it's not
your name.
Correct. It's not the same amount of time as here. Have we thought about other locations, and will we continue to think about other locations? Yes. But my name's on this location. And is there maybe someday the opportunity to do Wine Bar Zach by George, or Wine Bar Juan by George, or whoever the human being would be? Maybe. But right now, I like my 80 families that live out of my restaurant. I like taking care of them and knowing everybody's name. I like making sure that everything is right in my little world here. And it is our golden goose that we need to pet every single day to make sure the golden goose is happy. So I'm not saying I wouldn't build more, or that the right opportunity won't come up, but it would have to be with somebody else who has my level of knowledge, drive, and care to make it a unique and a special place. And I don't think of myself as old, except when I get up in the morning, my knees hurt, and I'm trying to get going before that first cup of coffee. And so, one location is brilliant.
It was good.
Yes.
Maybe that person would be your son, who is a burgeoning sommelier.
We don't ever want to tell anybody what to do, but that would be a really pretty great thing. He is somming up in Chicago, and is sitting for the computer part, the computer knowledge part of the advanced exam here in about a month. And so we're very proud of how he's progressed in the world. He knows imminently more than I do about the production side, having worked 5 or 6 harvests. And he's got a pretty good demeanor and service also. So we're, both my wife and I are very proud of him, just like we're proud of our 2 daughters also. So we'll see how that rolls.
All right. Very cool.
And the other thing is, not for nothing, you let them go out on their own, they can see how green the grass actually is when they're not in the, when you're in the yard, you may not see how green your grass is. When you're out of the yard in somebody else's yard, there's the acid test. Not saying anything bad about anything, just saying, I hope that works out.
Do you guys ever do blind tasting 1v1s with each other?
We will taste some things blind from time to time. Okay. Yes.
Does the old man still usually win?
It's usually like we'll pour something blind for each other and not really go, I won't pour, it won't be 1-to-1 kind of thing. I may open something up and pour and say, hey, tell me what it is, or vice versa. He's a pretty good taster.
Okay.
But at the beginning of his, tasting is an experience thing too. And by the time you get to the master's level, you should be able to put your nose into a glass of Pinot Noir, and it smells like Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
And you have to have tasted that many times, just like Patrick Mahomes throwing an out pass to one of his receivers, a simple out pass. He can do that in his sleep.
Yeah.
It's the Paul Skeens guy, I think is how you say it, who's a pitcher for the Pirates.
Yeah.
I saw something where he was saying it's actually kind of boring that I do the same thing. And if I'm I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, I've done it so many times that I get up on the mound and I know exactly what to do. Like knowing what Pinot Noir is in a blind tasting and Sauvignon Blanc, it should be like that.
Yeah.
I step onto the rubber, I get in, and I know I'm going to whip that ball right past this batter.
Yes.
And so that is about experience and practice. Paul Skeens has put in the time that, yes, throwing his fastball is on one level boring. Right. To him, I'm sure, was he just, I know what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it. And so with tasting in particular, if you're not practicing and tasting all the time, you're not going to become a master sommelier. Yeah. But it's much better than being a marathon runner who has to go out and run 10 to 15 miles every morning, right? I've got to taste 5 wines every day. Yeah, it's great, right?
Yeah.
So it is about my boy's 25. There's still plenty of time to taste and become a master som. And you got to continue tasting all the time. I tell that to all the people that I mentor. You got to taste all the time.
Taste all the time. There you go.
It's a hard job.
You run them through the 6 tastings. Mm-hmm. I guess what's your goal for that? Like, do you want to teach them how to taste like a master som, or is it gaining through blind tasting, enhancing their appreciation of wine? What do you like? What is your hope for the most people to walk away with on those?
So, there is this wasteland in many ways of truly fun things to do for adults. Like we go to the movies, we go out to eat, but for an hour and a half to come blind taste 3 whites and 3 reds. And now hear me out on this one. I'm going to go a little bit deeper.
Please.
Like we used our sense of smell when we were emerging from the cave to smell other people, to smell danger, to smell fire. We used our nose every single day to stay alive for eons and eons and eons. And nowadays, what do you use sense of smell for?
Tip well, smell your food.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's
not a survival.
Correct. But I truly, truly believe, and this is why some humans become incredibly obsessed about wine in their life, is one day they put their nose in this glass and I can describe minerality. I can describe a little bit of sweat sockiness here. I got yellow apple. I've got honey. I've got honeycomb, all those things going on in here. Something deep in your brain is awakened that this instrument can do so many things that we really don't use it for anymore. And so blind tasting is using a part of your makeup that maybe you're not used to exercising, just like, hey, going and running or pelotoning or whatever it may be is a fun thing because you're using your instrument. Using this instrument, I truly think people enjoy doing it. And my kind of love for doing the Taste Like a Master Som is that guests get really involved and enjoy it and want to come back and do it again and again. And they can do it once a year, twice a year. I don't care what it is, but it's a fun adult thing that there's not something else out there like it.
So a short answer to that, which I think is brilliant, is if you're coming to the blind tasting, if the only thing you get out of that is just practicing your sense of smell,
it's a win.
It's a win.
Yes.
That's great.
But people come back, like most guests, if they're not, I get guests from the UK all the time. They can only come when they're over here, but they come and it may be 2 years before I see them again, but I was here 2 years ago and we haven't been to Florida since, but we made sure we came to the Taste Like a Master when we were here. Awesome. That's what it's all about.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great, George.
It has been good times.
Such wonderful answers to all of my questions. Your story is unique and your passion is so fervent. Not one of the few, but one of the flagships in our wine world today. So for those of you out there, you're coming to Florida, you're coming to Orlando, you're looking for a fun adult experience, come to Wine Bar George, come meet George Miliotes, and you will eat and drink deliciously.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.